Minnesota is rust. Is this a street rod? Terms, right? Terms that nobody can agree on. Terms that people like to argue and discuss and talk about. So here is my definition of a street rod. You almost have to go back and look at the definition of a hot rod. While this may seem silly to spend time talking about it, give me a minute. When Hot Rod magazine came out in 1948, the term hot rod meant like a specific kind of car. When you fast forward to the end of the muscle car era, the term hot rod meant something, and the term street rod also meant something. So go back to the beginning of Hot Rod magazine, the term street rod was used, but it was often exclusively used for a hot rod that was not modified for racing. A hot rod that was just there to cruise on the street. Still had, maybe seatbelt, still had a windshield, still had a focus on being able to drive it every day, whereas a hot rod was more on that tiny barrel gas tank getting down the quarter mile or top speed racing or whatever it was, land speed racing. So a street rod for our discussion here is going to be kind of that second definition of a street rod. So we get past the mid 70s when muscle cars are not the thing anymore. And those that had money that wanted to spend on things built their hot rods into street rods. So the difference in my opinion for this discussion between a hot rod and a street rod is a street rod has some modern amenities or some higher tech something or other than your hot rod. Whereas a hot rod is still going to have your drop front axle, your street rod is going to have independent front suspension installed, either aftermarket or from something else put in it. So, from what we can tell looking at this, I'll say it's either a 49 through 51 Mercury Coupe. We have a 51 in our stable. We'll get to that someday. You can see we've got Frenched headlights. We've got custom grille. We've got flames. We've got lowered. We've got side pipes. We got white walls. Interior looks nice from what we can see. It's got spotlights on both sides. I don't see anything here that leads me to believe this has a modern fuel-injected motor, that this has independent front or independent rear. It's custom, which is cool, but from what I can tell in the picture, what we can see at this car show, I don't see enough of what I could tell it to be a street rod. So I'm going to call this just your hot rod or your custom hot rod. Probably not with a K though. Your custom hot rod. Looks cool. Love to have another one of these. This is a little bit nicer shape than the one we have, but don't tell anyone. So is this a street rod? Nope. By definition, nope. But it is a cool car, and I would love to have it in my stable too. Thank you much. Minnesota is right.